Bumabang online.
If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not. And it is one of the great adventures of all time. And no nation which expects to be the leader of other nations can expect to stay behind in this race for space. Those who came before us made certain that this country rode the first waves of the Industrial Revolution, the first waves of modern invention, and the first wave of nuclear power. And this generation does not intend to founder in the backwash of the coming age of space. We mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding. Yet the vows of this nation can only be fulfilled if we in this nation are first, and therefore we intend to be first. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Alrighty, welcome everybody to this special episode of Brownsville Tech Live. It's our 36th episode, and we've got our co-host, Steve Rodriguez. And as most of you know, tomorrow is an exciting day. We actually return back to the moon. NASA is on the verge of launching its Artemis moon rocket, which will leave the planet tomorrow at 7:33. And it will actually go to the moon, circle the moon, and come back and splash down. And this is an unmanned mission, but it's a mission that will be the precursor to future manned missions in the next few months to years. I know that here in Brownsville, Texas, we are absorbed in everything with regards to SpaceX. We tend to forget that Florida, is also part of, the space race here in this country. And this is an exciting time for this country because it will be the first time that NASA will have their own space rockets going up to space since the shuttle retired. Since then, we had actually
space rockets going up to space.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, there you are.
Yeah. So this is basically the first time that NASA has had their own hardware sent up to space since the shuttle retired. And obviously, the same thing with, since we quit sending our astronauts on the Russian spacecraft. Since then, we have been using the SpaceX Falcon 9 along with the Dragon capsule to send astronauts back and forth into space. And that will continue. But it will be the first time that NASA, through its contractors, which includes Boeing, will have their own equipment up. It is fair to say that this is a partnership effort among the private companies and NASA to head to the moon. There are components that SpaceX is working on with regards to the moon program that will be vital. So, Steve, did you have any pre-knowledge that this launch was happening on Monday?
I had no knowledge at all until you called me up the other day saying, hey, we're going back to the moon. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean we're going back to the moon? I'm like, no, the last time I heard we went to the moon was 1969.
And you and I were not even born. I know.
I wasn't even born, so
I kind of thought of having Doug as another co-host on because he was alive. He could tell us.
yeah, I'm like, alrighty now. So, but if it does happen tomorrow, it'll be another moment in history.
Yeah, it will be. Hopefully, in the next few months to a year, we'll actually land humans and we'll get to see it, at least before we die.
Okay, that's asking a little bit too much, but hey, that's all right.
Actually, I was watching this movie called 2012 today. I turned it on. I was on Sling and they showed it, and it was pretty scary. California falling into the ocean. I was like, oh my eye. I don't know how I never saw it. so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
2012. That's been the prediction since who knows when. And in every major movie that you see, California always falls to the ocean.
well, it's a good thing they don't necessarily say Texas is gonna fall into the ocean.
Right. Yep.
So
So,
anyway,
what's the name of this shuttle tomorrow?
well, basically the program's called Artemis, and
All right.
it's the rocket system is called the Space Launch System, and it is comprised of a main rocket which is bigger than the Saturn V, and it also contains two solid rocket boosters like the ones that they're used to that were on the shuttle back in the old days. So it's comprised of two solid rocket boosters, and the big rocket in the middle is obviously a liquid based rocket. The solid rocket boosters don't have any liquid; they have some kind of hardened propellant. But it's almost similar to what the shuttle had, for thrust. So, that's the system. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the theater, and I hate to break the news to you, but we've gotten rid of all the theater stuff.
What? No popcorn?
Nothing. Here's our new theater. So right now, it's nice and black, with nice graphics. But one of the first videos that I want to present to everybody is the actual Artemis program. And we'll go ahead and turn that video on here in a second. Give me 1 second while I flip.
Hey, Dan, will this bring any competition to SpaceX?
No, because SpaceX is going to be building a component of the rocket system. So as far as what I've read, there is no competition. SpaceX will be working on the lander component of this system. So that's what they've been hired to do. And there's going to be like a mini space station called the Gateway. And this video kind of describes this program in its entirety. But one of the things I want to mention to the viewers is tomorrow we're going to be live streaming the actual launch starting at around 7 a.m.
So what time is the actual launch?
It's at 7:30.
7:30 a.m. What?
In the morning, Central Time.
Central.
Yeah. So the system here is set up to automatically turn on at 7 o'clock. Without us, obviously, because we can't both be here. So the system's going to turn on at 7 a.m. and live stream the entire launch right from the show. The show's going to go on autopilot, believe it or not. Kind of scary. Without us.
AI is funny.
I know, right? Amazing. But here we go. I'm going to go ahead and start the video, which kind of explains. I believe it's about 5 minutes long, but it's very, very interesting. So here we go.
Between 1968 and 1972, America launched 9 human missions to the moon, 6 of which successfully touched down, allowing 12 men to walk on the lunar surface. NASA's next chapter of lunar exploration, called Artemis, has the task of not just going to the moon to create a long-term human presence on and around it, but also to prepare for ever more complex human missions to Mars. In short, everything we must be able to do here, we must first do here. So, what will an Artemis mission look like? Everything is designed and tested with our most important element in mind, the astronauts. This is their deep space, human-rated spacecraft called Orion, built in 3 parts. The crew module, where up to 4 astronauts will live and work throughout the flight. The service module, with life support systems for the crew and its own engine and fuel reserves. And a launch abort system, with engines capable of pulling the crew module to safety during launch should anything go wrong. To accomplish the task of launching our crew and heavy payloads, NASA is building the Space Launch System, comprising of a cargo hold, an exploration upper stage, a massive core stage, and 2 extended solid rocket boosters. Altogether, this is the world's most powerful rocket, and it exceeds the legendary Saturn V of the Apollo era in numerous ways. Sitting on the launch pad, the entire rocket, fully fueled, weighs just over 6 million pounds, 5.2 million of which is just the fuel. Once ignited, there is no stopping what comes next. All 4 RS-25 engines and the 2 solid rocket boosters come to life, thundering our crew upwards. 2 minutes after ignition, the solid rocket boosters are spent and released. 8 minutes after launch, the core stage is depleted and separated. The upper stage fires briefly, placing Orion into a parking orbit around the Earth. Here, the crew reconfigure the spacecraft and check systems to confirm everything is ready for deep space travel. With a go from mission control, the crew reignite the exploration upper stage engines to leave Earth entirely. The exact timing of this maneuver is critical to reach a speed that can escape Earth's gravitational pull, but also put Orion on a course that will intersect the Moon days later. Once this burn is complete, the upper stage of the SLS is jettisoned and the crew aboard Orion coast for several days toward all that awaits them at the Moon. Approaching the Moon, we see the fundamental differences between Artemis and Apollo. Instead of requiring Orion to serve as an expendable lunar command module or to carry a constrained lunar lander, the Artemis missions will take advantage of a different approach: pre-staging. Everything needed for lunar missions will be positioned in advance by commercial and international partners. This includes rovers, science experiments, and human-rated systems on the surface. But it also includes a dedicated lunar station in orbit around the Moon called Gateway. Here at this station, we can pre-stage a robust lunar lander and establish a strong communications relay. Designed with open standards, the Gateway can be expanded as new missions and partnerships develop, allowing multiple human missions on the Moon at the same time and enabling ongoing science to be conducted even between human missions. The Gateway is also capable of adjusting its orbit to allow access to every part of the Moon, something the Apollo missions could not do. But the real key in this approach is placing Gateway in a unique halo orbit to perfect the maneuvers needed for Mars missions. And with the growing list of commercial and international opportunities, Gateway is the ideal hub between Earth and all that lies beyond. Returning to our crew as they approach Gateway, the Orion must match the elliptical orbit of the station in order to successfully dock. Once on board, pre-selected crew members transfer to the lunar lander, while those assigned to Gateway remain on station. The lunar lander system itself is built for 3 unique steps: descending from the halo orbit of Gateway down to a low lunar orbit, descending from low lunar orbit to the surface, and once the lunar mission is complete, launching from the surface of the Moon and ascending all the way back to the orbiting Gateway. Once back aboard the Orion spacecraft and undocked from Gateway, the crew fire their engine once to break out of the halo orbit and once again to sling the spacecraft around the Moon, placing it on a multi-day trajectory back towards Earth. As they near the end of this journey, the service module is released, and the crew module is oriented heat shield first. Entering Earth's atmosphere at 25,000 miles per hour, the friction of air slows Orion considerably, while also subjecting it to temperatures of 5,000 degrees. With the Orion now at just 300 miles per hour, a series of parachutes uniquely tested and produced for this moment deploy, decelerating the craft to just 20 miles per hour for splashdown. With each successful mission, Artemis ushers in the next wave of men and women to explore our Moon and prove that together we are ready to go beyond.
Yeah. So it's definitely different from the Apollo era. You know,
A lot different.
yeah, the Apollo era, I mean, you had, you didn't have a space station sitting up in lunar orbit, so you'll be able to have astronauts there in the Gateway living there for a couple of months. You'll also have, you're going to have also a lot of supplies and equipment and rovers and landers that are going to be built by the commercial companies such as SpaceX and Blue Origin. And so, that's definitely different than what it was back, in the old days of the Apollo missions. So, it's kind of exciting. It's kind of exciting to see that we're going to get back there. I mean, right now, besides us, I mean, the only country that has sent a space probe up to the moon has been the Chinese. I mean, obviously, Russia has not sent one. Doesn't appear to be interested, but conquesting, other countries around the planet instead of focusing on, what they used to be good at. I mean, because they did beat us into space, but they just couldn't hold it together. So it's kind of interesting from that standpoint. I mean, they have been working on this rocket for at least, 10 years, ever since the Bush administration. But it's taken, I guess, more than 10 years if you think about it. So it actually goes back to the Obama era, too, I think. But some of the other slides that we're looking at is just a description of how the Artemis, program works. Same thing that the video covered, how it does the slingshot around the Earth to get to the moon, and then it orbits, and then once it orbits, deorbits, it heads back. So they've got some pretty neat little graphics here of the program. This is actually the moon rocket, the Artemis moon rocket, and as I mentioned, it has this, the solid rocket boosters just like the shuttle did. But unlike the shuttle, if you recall, there was a fuel tank in the middle, but it had no rocket engines or anything. It was just a fuel tank. The shuttle was thrust into space by the solid rocket boosters, and it was only until it reached a certain height that the actual shuttle engines actually kicked in. But basically, these are the workhorses right here of the rocket. It's the solid rocket booster. At some point, these 4 engines over here, they kick in. And then the other nice thing about this rocket, unlike the Apollo rockets and even the shuttle, is that it has an emergency escape system. So if for some reason the computers on the launch pad detect something wrong that may cause an explosion, immediately the computers will kick in and will take this entire section and shoot it off to avoid any disasters with losing any astronauts. So there's definitely safety that they've put into place here to ensure if a solid rocket booster or even one of the main tanks gets screwed up, they at least have an opportunity to get off the vehicle, at least get ejected off the vehicle. You kind of have to think about it like an ejection seat on a plane in a way. So that's kind of neat. Hopefully we'll never have to use this system, but this is the rockets. I mean, they got lots of fuel, lots of explosive fuels. It's so that's kind of interesting. And then of course,
and where is it launching out of, then?
It's launching out of Cape Canaveral. It's launching out of launch pad 39B. If you recall, 39B and 39A were the shuttle launch facilities. 39A is currently being leased by SpaceX for the Falcon 9 rocket launches that they do right now to the space station, and of course their own commercial projects like Starlink. So SpaceX uses launch pad 39A, and NASA is using launch pad 39B for these. And this is another cool graphic of the actual Artemis rocket, and the different stages and how it breaks, how it travels around the moon and then how it returns back, and of course splashdown. But hopefully we will get to see in the next few months to a year, the return of astronauts back on the lunar planet. It'll hopefully put some issues to rest. There's always been that thing about why did we never travel to the dark side of the moon, because there's always a dark side, and there's been all kinds of conspiracy theories that it's because there's alien bases on the other side, but I don't seriously think there's anything like that. We would have found it, and of course, there's no sense of anybody keeping secrets these days. Well, first of all, they can't even keep secrets. That. So, I mean, this is, everybody, has all kinds of conspiracy theories about it. But it's going to be our first attempt to go back on the moon again. And like I said, once again, we're going to be first. Once again, there's no country out there that, has spent the money that we have to ensure that we're back on the moon again. I don't know how many missions the Artemis program will be comprised of, but there was only what the video said, 8 or 9 Apollo missions. And a lot of it, unfortunately, was budget cuts. It's very expensive to launch rockets, up until SpaceX, proved that you could reuse a rocket again. They were throwaways. They'd launch, they'd, fall back down to Earth, they'd burn up. So it's very expensive to launch. So it's always easier to reuse. It's the same thing with the shuttle. I mean, the only reusable component of the shuttle was the actual shuttle itself, But beyond that, all the other components fell down to Earth, and they fell into the ocean, and they rusted out, and so it's very expensive. But even then, we only spend, 1% of the entire federal budget on space. You always hear people say, especially when there's a government shutdown or government's running deficits or whatever, it's the first people that come out are the ones that say, that's why we shouldn't spend all that money on space, because we could spend it down here. Well, if they go back and do their homework, they'll realize that it's only 1%. The rest of the federal government, is comprised of Social Security, Medicare, and defense. Those are the big enchiladas.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to make a dent, it's not going to be NASA's budget. It's not going to be the IRS. It's going to be Social Security, Medicare, and defense. And we know those don't get touched ever. It's almost suicide,
Political suicide if they were to touch any of those.
Exactly. It is political suicide. There's no doubt about that. But
so tomorrow's launch will be unmanned.
Yes, it will be completely unmanned, which means the rocket will launch. It will head out in 3 days to the moon. It will do whatever maneuvers it has to do. And then by computer control, it'll come back down to Earth and splash down. Yeah.
3 days.
3 days. Completely different from the Apollo era. It also took 3 days, right? But,
right.
We're a long way from the old days of the Apollo era and the computers. It's kind of funny because, I keep on telling everybody, and I think everybody thinks I'm crazy, how I talk about, there would be no need, we have a pilot shortage in this country right now with airlines. But if people really realize the majority of your airplane flights are computer controlled, the only time the
autopilot.
Autopilot. And not only that, but they actually key in the coordinates of from and to, and the plane just goes its way, The only time the pilot gets in the way is, during landing and takeoff. That's the only time, or unless there's a problem, right? But as you well know, 3 years ago, we had software that was failing on the Boeing 737 MAX. It was causing airplanes to crash. It caused 2 airplanes to crash with people on board, and they died. And basically, it was a computer programming error. And it's the term is fly by wire. You fly by wire, which means it's all computer controlled. But if you think about what we're doing today and what's going to happen tomorrow, it's fly by wire. There is no humans, So I always talk about, the day where we will, have pilotless airplanes. We will have, truckerless trucks. And
we already do.
Yeah, we already do. I'm pretty sure you're aware of that.
We have autonomous trucks.
Yeah.
They are currently in the testing phase. They have, the latest I heard was they have done several successful trips cross country, right? And they only need the driver for certain things.
Yeah.
So imagine when that day comes by.
Yeah. I mean, the day's coming. And the day will come when we will have driverless vehicles. And hopefully by then, you and I will be around 80. And we'll at least can jump in a car and tell the car, I want to go from here to here. And the car will drive us safely without us having to go too slow or too fast.
From here to Tacobalete and back.
That's right. So it's coming. I mean, we're doing it now, So it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting the fact that we're doing that unmanned tomorrow. It's exciting the fact that we're actually going to head back there again. Maybe establish a moon base or a moon colony once and for all. Because that's the deal. In order for us to go to Mars, it would be more ideal to have the equipment on the moon to launch to Mars instead of having to deal with it all down here. I mean, if you really think about it, it kind of goes back to the old Star Trek, movies, if you recall, all the starships were always built, off the planet. And there's the thought process for that. You don't have to worry about thrust and gravity and all that stuff. So, and we know how to build in space. I mean, we built the space station. I mean, I think it was 8 or 9 years, the shuttles went back and forth, even despite the accidents, and the astronauts put that stuff together. So we can build. We know how to build.
Is there anybody at the space station right now?
Yeah. There's a couple of Russians and maybe an American or two. But they're either coming on the Soyuz capsules from Russia, or they're coming from SpaceX capsules, the Dragon capsules. So, I mean, that stuff is going to continue, There was original plans and thoughts that, we were going to launch those commercial cargo and astronauts from here. I don't know if that will be the case down the road. I mean, right now the plans are that we're going to be a research and development facility. And, the Cape down in Florida would be the actual launch facility. But there's a lot of things that factor in, the SpaceX builds their Raptor engines here in McGregor, Texas. And then for a long time, they've been building the actual rocket over at Hawthorne. It makes no sense logistically to continue to manufacture in California. For one thing, they can't bring those rockets through the Panama Canal. They're too big. Those ships don't fit. So they literally have to make the long haul around South America, down this way, and then across the Gulf to Florida. It makes no sense. So if you really think about it, even if we stay as a research and development facility, maybe a manufacturing facility, it would be a lot cheaper to get those rocket engines from McGregor, Texas down to Brownsville. We build all the final components, just like we do everything else around here. And then we ship those via airport directly to the Cape. It's not a problem. It's still money. It's still jobs, So that's where I think it'll probably end up, especially if the traffic at the Cape continues to increase. They may not have a choice but to continue to expand the facility here, what they've already done. I mean, we're not going anywhere, and they're not going anywhere. I mean, you heard it 2 days ago. I mean, Elon Musk was down here along with T-Mobile CEO. They had a big powwow down there. And they're talking about how, Starlink is going to power T-Mobile's cellular networks, So, I don't think we necessarily lose if we just remain a research and development facility. At least I don't think so. I don't look at it that way. I know that there are a few people around town that, keep on saying, oh, he went back on his word. He told us we were going to do this, but we were not going to do this, but now we're going to do this. But people like me who have followed these guys since 2014 know that that the landscape has changed since 2014. Back in 2014, SpaceX couldn't get their rockets on a schedule to launch because they had to compete with everything NASA had going on. So they were looking to an alternative at the time. Obviously, the dynamics have changed, and there's politics involved. Florida doesn't want to lose that business, and obviously we don't want to lose ours, right?
It's all about the money.
Yeah. So we're going to have to learn to share responsibilities and not necessarily say, oh, they're getting this more than we are and so forth. I was looking at some of the comments from some of the other sites that I'm part of. And, there was this friction between the supporters of NASA and the supporters of SpaceX, and they were throwing rocks at each other today, saying that, oh, NASA's just helping Boeing and stuff like that. But, there's, as they say, there's enough around to go around the neighborhood for everybody. I don't know why we have to get into this us versus them thing. We're all supposed to be on the same team, right?
That's what I'm thinking, right? We're all supposed to be on the same team, so.
I mean, either we get our act together or, Vladimir or Lee over across the ocean will, so I don't get it why we get into those things, but it is what it is. By the way, do you like our new Brownsville Tech Live t-shirts?
I was looking at it, man. I was admiring it.
Did you
I
check
guess
your
mine
mailbox?
got lost in the mail.
No, it's on its way. It's probably already en route. Maybe it was on that mail truck that flipped over on the freeway.
It might have been in that mail truck, or maybe DOT got a hold of it. I don't know.
Maybe. But actually, another surprise is that we're going to be launching our merchandise store.
What?
Yep. We're going to have our own merchandise store. I'm working that right now. First thing that's going to go on are t-shirts, cups, koozies, underwear. Socks, yeah, definitely socks. Tote bags. So I'm working that right now. But that's...
So, all right, show me your shirt again. What does it have? What is it in the middle?
Oh, it's an alien. It's an alien with a headset. Some headphones, and it says Brownsville Tech Live across the galaxy. So we've got new fans. Yeah. I had to use my blue screen today instead of the green screen because the alien
they wouldn't be seen.
It wouldn't have been seen. So yeah, so we've got that coming up. We'll have our own merchandise store. If you want to have your own little personalized shirt for your fans to purchase, Nancy may not like that.
Cool. Hey, and who's making these shirts?
Oh, I'm not gonna say. It's not anybody here. It's not.
Oh,
Eagle.
I was
No,
gonna
no, no.
say.
No, I know what you're referring to. This one was made by uh, Family Enterprise. I'll leave it at that.
All right, all right.
But
all right,
the
all right.
ones that are going to be on our merch store, no, those are going to be done by a company. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, all
So,
right. As I know several people that and make those shirts, right?
no, I know.
You know,
I know.
so
I know. But no, unfortunately, we're not going to do it that way because we want to expand into more than just shirts. So it's going to be a merchandise store on the internet. So
awesome.
But anyway, tomorrow is the launch. As I mentioned earlier in the program, the show will go on autopilot tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It will be streaming live via NASA TV feed, and we'll be capturing the launch here as it happens, which is scheduled at 7:33. It could go over. They've put a window of 7:33 to around 9 o'clock. So the program will go live automatically at 7, and then it will shut down, once the rocket is safely in Earth orbit. So I encourage everyone to, get on and watch it. It's going to be pretty exciting. By the way, a couple of things. I think, as you know, we are in our third social media platform, which is Spotify. So we are successfully on there. If you're a Spotify member, not only can you hear the audio, but you can actually see the video as well. If you're not a Spotify member and you just access Spotify over the regular method, you'll be able to hear the audio instead of the video. So, we're on our third social platform. There is a fourth I'm working on. I've already set it up. So we're going to be launching a fourth social media platform within hopefully a week or so. So,
okay, so your social media platforms as of today
are Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spotify. Yeah, Spotify's a little bit of a delay. It takes a little bit of a delay. Usually you see the episode from the previous night on Spotify the next day. But, YouTube and Facebook, those are immediate. As soon as the show ends, those videos are already online. Spotify's a little different. It takes about a day, a couple of hours to get the video to appear on there. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. Last week we hit 1,000 viewers with last week's episode.
Wow.
So I'm pretty pleased about that. I thank everybody who's tuned in. We're trying to provide as much educational material as we can, and I think that's what's made us different from everybody else who's out there locally. I think we
probably okay. It is a different type of podcast, more informational than the common chismosos, all right, or tattletelling, or he did this or she did that, all right. My opinion, this is more educational, more of what people need to know.
Yeah, more what people need to know. I mean, all of this affects us. It affects us every day. Whether it's us, you and me, or our kids as they go to school. It gives them something to look forward to. Instead of hearing about this and that, they've got an opportunity to see, some positive things out there, and this is positive news. Mm-hmm. This is positive news. So, our goal is to expand into more than just one or two social media platforms. Hopefully this fourth one, which will be big, and the fifth one coming up will be big. We'll be on most of the major platforms hopefully in a couple of weeks. So plus our merch. So
do you have a website already
for the merch store?
Yeah.
Not yet. Well, I do, but I can't publish it yet because there's a few housekeeping things I need to do, and
Understood.
yeah, but we're gonna be coming on. But yeah, you'll get your T-shirt. You won't have to go to the merch store. You and Doug are gonna get free T-shirts.
I'll probably have to go to the merch store. It's all right. It's all right. I understand.
No,
it's all good.
No,
I'll contribute to the cause.
As long as they don't end up at Goodwill, I'll be happy. So
no, my shirt's never ended up at Goodwill.
So anyway, well, folks, this was our 35th episode. I'm hoping that you guys enjoyed it. By the way, do you like our new
it's
theme?
Different.
I know,
it's
right?
different. The graphics are cool. They stand out.
Yeah.
Impressed. Who did this for you? I know it was you.
It was me. It's all
okay.
me.
All right, then. Hey, I'll give credit what credit is due.
Hey,
it's nice.
I am the king of multimedia, I didn't say social.
Sorry, that brought back a flashback. Sorry.
I didn't say social media. That
title, all right.
That title is held by somebody else in the family.
I apologize.
But I am the
king.
Sounded
too familiar.
No, but I am the king of multimedia. That's for sure. I can make objects spin.
yes,
and disappear. Yes. So anyway, yeah. So, like I said, this is our 35th episode. No, 36th episode. What am I talking about?
Oh no! Hey.
Our 35th was last week. No, this is this 36th episode. Our next episode is the Apple September 7th event. And as most of you know, the iPhone 14 is being released. And we don't anticipate any other products as far as we know. But for that show, I don't know if you'll be available, but I know Doug will definitely be on.
That will be Mr. Doug's, as I have some previous engagements on that date.
Well, you can tune in afterwards, but
I'll tune in afterwards.
So we're pretty excited.
I'm gonna be on that Apple crazy line. So hey.
Yeah. Well, pull out your wallet because.
Well, I get 50% off.
Oh, that's right, you do. Yeah, the rest of us have to pay the extra $200. So. All righty, everybody. So this was our show for tonight. Stay tuned for tomorrow. The show will come on live automatically on autopilot, just like that rocket will, at 7 a.m. And you're going to watch us launch the Artemis moon rocket straight to the moon. So thank you for watching, and good night.